Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you're keeping track, it's the end of October 2025.
Which means another Cybersecurity Awareness Month, or CSAM, is wrapping up.
Exactly. And look, awareness is obviously good, foundational even. But the data we're diving into today, it tells a pretty different story.
It really does. We're, I think, way past the point where just knowing about threats is enough.
Yeah.
The sophistication is just too high now.
And the stakes, the business stakes are through the roof. Plus this relentless pace of, digital transformation everyone's chasing.
Right. Awareness is step one, but action is the game now. Strategic action.
Absolutely. So our mission today for you listening is really to cut through that basic awareness noise and give you something strategic, something actionable. We're doing a really big deep dive into the business side of cybersecurity, specifically for 2025.
Yeah, we're trying to get a clear picture of what cyber risk actually looks like on the ground, especially in sectors like retail and hospitality, high volume, lots of customer data.
And we want to define what makes a CISO, a Chief Information Security Officer, truly effective today. How do they get that respect from the execs? How do they become a strategic partner, not just, the IT security person?
Less of a cost center, more of a business enabler, ideally.
Precisely. And we've got some fantastic sources lined up. We're digging into the brand new 2025 CISO benchmark report. That's from the RHISC.
Which, for context, is the Retail and Hospitality Information Sharing and Analysis Center. So really sector-specific intel. Super valuable.
Yeah, it is. And we're pairing that with some pretty solid academic research, stuff that looks at how CISOs report up the chain, how they talk to the board, or maybe how they should be talking to the board.
It's a good mix. You've got the hard industry data meeting the organizational theory behind it all. It gives you that full picture of the CISO's world in 2025.
It's a lot to cover, definitely. But we'll guide you through the key takeaways. But before we jump into this whole era of disruption that security leaders are facing, just want to say a quick thank you.
Yeah, big thanks to our partners for making this deep dive possible. www.cisomarketplace.com and www.cisomarketplace.services.
Their support is crucial for getting this kind of strategic insight out there. Okay, let's get into it. Segment 1, the new era of disruption. All right, this first big theme, radical disruption. I mean, the sources really paint this picture of just frantic change, accelerated change, and it's stretching security teams thin, really thin.
Oh, absolutely. That number, 75% of retail and hospitality companies are actively speeding up their digital reinvention. That's huge.
75%. What does that practically mean, though, speeding up reinvention?
Well, it's more than just tweaking things. It's fundamental business model changes.
Yeah.
Think about it post-pandemic shifts, the competitive pressure. They have to adopt new platforms, new ways to reach customers, move faster to the cloud just to stay in the game.
But that speed, that's the killer for security, isn't it?
It's a massive liability. Every new tool, every connection point, every cloud instance, it just broadens the attack surface. The potential places hackers can get in. Security teams are basically in triage mode trying to secure stuff that was launched like last week.
Yeah, playing catch up constantly. And if that wasn't enough, we have new tech like AI making things even harder.
Right. It's that classic double-edged sword. AI is amazing for business, but it's also turbocharging the threats.
The RHISA report flagged this specifically.
Yeah, a huge number. 91% of these retail and hospitality companies are saying, yes, new tech like generative AI is absolutely making cyber threats worse, more intense.
And it's not just theoretical. These AI-powered attack tools, they're actually being bought and sold now.
Oh, yeah, it's a commodity. We saw this stat, a 223% increase. Let me check that. Yes, 223% jump in the trade of deepfake tools on dark web forums just between early 2023 and early 2025.
Wow, 223%. And deepfakes, that's voice cloning, fake videos.
Exactly. Think about phishing attacks. Instead of a dodgy email, you get a perfectly cloned voice message from your CEO asking for a wire transfer, or a video call that looks real. It makes social engineering attacks incredibly convincing.
That fundamentally changes trust, doesn't it? Who do you believe?
Absolutely. So you've got this crazy speed. You've got AI amplifying the attacks.
Yeah.
What are the actual top risks keeping CISOs awake at night in these sectors?
What are they telling the RHISC?
Okay, the top three are pretty clear, and they're mostly about money. Number one, no huge surprise, is still ransomware and malware. 70% cited that.
70%. Still dominant. Why retail and hospitality, though? Are they specific targets?
They're prime targets. Think about it. Their business relies entirely on uptime. Point-of-sale systems, booking platforms, every minute they're down because of ransomware, that's cash bleeding out the door. Plus, Ransomware as a service makes it easy for even low-skill attackers to get in on the action.
Okay, so ransomware is number one. What's number two?
Number two, and this really speaks to that whole disruption theme, is third-party and supply chain attacks.
Yeah.
That was 58%.
Right, because if you're accelerating using outside help.
Exactly. You're relying on vendors, managed services, cloud providers. Your security is suddenly only as good as their security.
Mm.
A breach at one small supplier can ripple upwards and compromise a massive company. We see it all the time.
Okay, makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
And number three.
Still a classic, but evolving. Phishing, cited by 47%.
So almost half. And that's everything from basic email scams to those AI deepfakes you mentioned.
Yeah, the human element.
Yeah.
It's still the easiest way in for attackers, unfortunately.
They are.
Easier to fool a person than bypass complex tech sometimes.
So ransomware, supply chain, phishing, those are the big threats. How does that change what CISOs are actually doing? Where are they putting their effort and budget in 2025?
There's been a really interesting shift here. It's about operational priorities.
Okay.
Business continuity and disaster recovery, BCDR, has shot up the list. It's now the #1 cybersecurity initiative for 2025.
Number one. Wasn't it lower before?
Much lower. It was #4 just last year, in 2024. That leap is really telling.
What does it tell us?
It signals a shift in mindset. It's an admission, really, that stopping every single attack, especially sophisticated ransomware, just isn't realistic anymore, given the speed and the threats.
So it's less about building impenetrable walls and more about bouncing back quickly.
Precisely. It's the philosophy of inevitable resilience. If we know we're going to get hit eventually, we need to be absolutely sure we can get the core systems back online almost instantly. Minimize the financial hit, minimize the reputation damage.
So budget moves away from just prevention tools.
It has to. More investment goes into things like automated recovery, rock-solid backups, immutable ones, and really well-rehearsed incident response plans. The key metric becomes mean time to recovery, MTTR. How fast can we get back up?
Less about avoiding the punch, more about getting off the canvas fast.
You got it. That resilience focus is really defining the CISO's job in 2025.
Okay, so the threat landscape is intense, resilience is key, but how ready are companies really? Let's talk about this idea of the digital core. What exactly is that?
Yeah, the digital core is fundamental. It's the tech backbone that enables all that speed and innovation we talked about. Things like zero trust architecture, really good API management, secure containers, AI-driven security tools. It's the engine.
The engine powering that 75% acceleration.
Right. But here's the scary part. The benchmark report found that a whopping 82% of companies lack strong security maturity in that exact digital core.
82%. That seems incredibly high. Why such a big gap, especially if security budgets are supposedly going up?
It goes back to that speed versus security conflict. Businesses are pushing new features, new apps out the door so fast to compete.
Time to market is king.
It often is. And security becomes an afterthought, something bolted on later instead of baked in from the start. So that digital core, it ends up with, unpatched systems, misconfigured cloud settings, huge gaps in API security.
Yeah.
Basically, wide open doors for attackers.
Which makes the performance of the leaders, the frontrunners in the report, even more stark. They've actually secured their digital core.
They have. And the benefits go way beyond just security. They actually run better businesses.
How so?
Well, they see a 2.5 times greater reduction in technical debt. Less time fixing old, broken stuff means more time innovating.
That's a huge operational advantage.
Massive. And their security posture is quantifiably better. They saw an average 30% improvement in their NIST scores.
Okay, let's unpack NIST scores. NIST CSF, the cybersecurity framework, that's still the main standard people use.
Overwhelmingly. 83% of organizations are using it to measure how mature their security programs are. There's some good news. Scores are generally improving.
Okay.
The average score went up about 25% from 2024, reaching 3.1 in 2025.
Right, 3.1. So better, but what does that number actually mean in practice? What's the difference between a 3.1 and, say, the 3.5 the front runners are aiming for?
It's a significant difference in capability. A score around 3.0 usually means you've moved from just having repeatable processes to having defined processes like documented policies and procedures.
Okay, documented.
But moving towards 3.5 or even 4.0, that's getting into managed and optimized territory. That means you're not just following procedures, you're actively measuring how well your controls work, using metrics, feeding that back into improvements, and integrating security much earlier into business planning.
So the front runners Hitting 3.2 now and projecting 3.5, they're operating at a much more proactive, data-driven level.
Exactly. While the majority, that big 82%, are still trying to solidify the basics, get those defined processes consistently in place.
Okay, so there's this big maturity gap. Let's talk consequences. If the technical scores don't light a fire under the C-suite, what will?
Money and reputation. Ultimately, it comes down to customer trust.
This is where security failures hit the bottom line directly.
Absolutely. The data here is pretty brutal. 81% of consumers said they would lose trust in a brand if their personal information was compromised in a data breach.
81%. And the report called that the Tier 2 box score. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's just analyst speak for combining the people who said they were highly likely and somewhat likely to lose trust. Basically, it means 4 out of 5 customers are seriously thinking about leaving you if you mess up with their data.
That's not just a security incident, that's an existential business risk.
Totally. It's a business continuity crisis waiting to happen.
And it's not even the same risk across the board, right? Some sectors are much more vulnerable to that loss of trust.
Definitely. The report highlighted where the risk is highest. We're talking beauty stores, travel platforms, hotels. For them, the likelihood of losing customer trust after a breach jumps to 86%.
86%. Why those specifically?
Think about the data they handle. It's deeply personal, right? Health info, maybe. Travel patterns. Detailed financial info. And the whole promise of those brands is often about a seamless, private, almost intimate experience.
So a breach feels more like a personal violation.
Exactly. It hits harder emotionally. Compare that to maybe, I don't know, a breach at a B2B part supplier. Still bad, but the customer relationship is different. For hotels or travel sites, trust is the brand.
So high-risk data combined with high-consequence fallout. This really positions the CISO as a direct protector of the company's market value.
It has to. They're not just guarding servers anymore. They're guarding the revenue stream, they're guarding the customer relationship, they're guarding the brand itself.
Which perfectly sets up our next segment, how the CISO role has to evolve to handle this pressure. But first, let's take a quick pause and thank our sponsors again.
Yes, thanks to www.CISOmarketplace.com and www.cisomarketplace.services.
You know, tackling the kind of complexity we're discussing really does require specialized support and resources like theirs. Absolutely. Okay, we'll be right back to talk about the evolving CISO. All right, we're back. So we've established the threats, the maturity gap, the business impact. Now let's zoom in on the CISO role itself. The scope is just exploding, isn't it?
It really is. It's forcing the CISO to be like part technologist, part risk manager, part diplomat, all rolled into one.
What are the core duties the benchmark report identified? The absolute must-haves.
Well, the traditional pillars are still huge. Things like security awareness training, managing vulnerabilities, running the Security Operations Center, SOC for incident response, handling cloud security, gathering threat intelligence. Those are almost universally expected, like 95 to 97% reported those as core responsibilities.
Table stakes for any CISO today.
Pretty much. But what's really interesting is looking at what's growing the fastest. Where's the newest pressure coming from?
Okay, what's the fastest riser?
Data management and loss prevention. That responsibility saw a 26% jump just between 2024 and 2025.
26% in 1 year. Why such a big leap there?
It ties directly back to everything we've discussed. Yeah. That 75% acceleration. The rise of generative AI companies are creating, using, and trying to monetize vast amounts of data like never before.
And that data is often sensitive, valuable.
Exactly. So the CISO's job shifts. It's less about just guarding the network perimeter and more about becoming the primary guardian of the company's data itself. It's intellectual property, customer secrets, everything.
This massive expansion in responsibility inevitably leads to that age-old question. Where does the CISO actually sit in the org chart? Who do they report to?
The reporting structure debate. It's a classic for a reason. Historically, the CISO was often buried pretty deep in IT.
Like reporting to the CIO.
Often, yeah. That Ponemon Institute study from back in 2017 found half reported to the CIO, and only, get this, 4% reported directly to the CEO. 4%.
Wow, that really frames security as just an IT operational thing.
It did. But the new data shows a significant shift is underway. Boards are waking up.
What's the trend now?
It's moving upwards, towards the top. The number of CISOs reporting directly to the CEO or even the board jumped from 7% in 2024 to 19% in 2025.
19% now. That's a pretty big jump in just 1 year.
It's huge. a 12-point increase that reflects cyber risk finally being seen for what it is, a core business governance issue, not just a tech problem. Regulations, the sheer cost of breaches, it demands that top-level visibility.
But even with that trend, 19% isn't a majority. There's clearly no single right answer yet for where the CISO should report. Why is there still so much variation?
This is where some of that academic research helps explain things. Complexity theory gives us a good lens.
Complexity theory, okay.
Yeah, it suggests organizations aren't rigid machines following flowcharts. They're complex systems that adapt to their environment. So the CISO's reporting structure isn't fixed. It morphs based on things like the company's current security maturity, the internal politics and power dynamics, what the board actually understands about cyber.
So if something big changes externally, like a massive hack or a new law...
The internal structure is forced to adapt. The classic example is Equifax after their huge 2017 breach.
Right. What happened there?
Their CISO reported to the CIO before the breach. Afterwards, the company clearly saw the failure as a massive risk management and legal disaster, not just IT messing up. So the new CISO reported directly to the chief counsel, the top lawyer.
Fascinating. Shifting it completely out of IT into the legal risk domain, that shows how external pressure reshapes the structure.
Exactly. And it highlights the fundamental conflict that often exists when the CISO does report to the CIO.
Let's unpack that conflict. On the surface, reporting to the head of IT seems logical for integration. No.
That's the argument, yeah. Operational synergy, easier to integrate security into IT projects. Yeah. But the huge downside is the inherent conflict of interest.
How so?
The security function ends up reporting to the person whose main job is often about deploying new tech quickly, keeping systems running, hitting project deadlines.
Well, the CISO's job is often to say, hold on, that's not secure, we need to slow down and fix this.
Precisely. The CIO is judged on speed and efficiency. The CISO is judged on safety and risk reduction. Their goals are often diametrically opposed. If the CISO flags a risky project, they're essentially challenging their own boss's priorities, budget, maybe even their bonus.
That makes it really hard for the CISO to be truly independent, to be that objective voice the board needs.
Absolutely. It compromises their ability to speak truth to power. So that rise we saw, the 19% reporting higher up, that's partly organizations trying to mitigate that built-in conflict.
Okay, so the CISO role is getting elevated, reporting lines are shifting, but getting that seat at the table, whether it's reporting to the CEO or someone else high up, demands more than just technical skills. It demands influence.
Yeah, the ultimate measure isn't just stopping attacks. It's influencing the business strategy. And that requires bridging that communication gap we keep talking about.
The CISO talking tech jargon, the board talking dollars and cents.
Exactly. CISOs default to talking about, vulnerability counts or framework scores, while the board cares about brand image, financial loss, keeping the regulators happy. It's two different languages.
So how does the CISO become fluent in boardroom speak? The research had some specific ideas, right? These propositions about CISO behavior.
Yeah, Proposition 3 was crystal clear. CISOs must speak the language of business.
Yeah.
Almost half the interviewees, 43%, said this was non-negotiable.
What does language of business actually mean in a security context? Give me an example.
Okay, instead of saying, we need to implement zero-trust network segmentation because of CVE, whatever, which means nothing to the board.
Right, eyes glaze over.
You say, we have identified a risk that has a 40% chance of taking our main e-commerce platform offline for 72 hours next year. Based on current revenues, that's a potential loss of between $10 million and $18 million. We propose investing $2 million in the specific project, which modeling shows reduces that loss potential by 85%.
Ah, okay. You're talking probability, financial impact range, return on investment. That's language they understand.
Exactly. And Proposition 4 adds another layer, an end-user focus. 40% highlighted this. It means understanding what the business needs to achieve.
So not just saying no all the time because something seems risky.
Right. It's about understanding that, yes, the sales team needs easy remote access to close deals, or the marketing team needs to integrate that new analytics platform quickly. The CISO's job is to figure out how to enable those things securely. Managing the risk, not just blocking progress, listening is key.
So if you combine those behaviors, speaking business, focusing on user needs, what's the ultimate goal? What should the CISO be delivering?
The research suggests the core mission boils down to providing peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
Yeah, giving the stakeholders, especially the board, confidence that cyber risk is understood, quantified, and managed appropriately. And crucially, showing how security investments translate into tangible business outcomes like reduced financial exposure or enabling faster, safer innovation.
Okay, peace of mind is the goal. How do you deliver that in a board report? Let's get practical. What do they need to see?
First, ditch the vague, scary numbers. You have to express potential impact in financial terms.
Using those quantification models like FAIR.
Exactly. Fair factor analysis of information risk is a great example. It lets you move away from saying, this breach could cost $1 billion, which nobody believes,
Right. It sounds like fear-mongering.
and instead present a credible range. Based on our analysis, there's a, say, 20% chance of an event costing between $5 and $12 in the next 18 months. That's believable, actionable. The board can weigh that against the cost of mitigation. It allows for rational decision-making.
Okay, quantified risk ranges. What else? They don't have much time in these meetings.
Keep it visual. Use simple charts, graphs, and those external security ratings can be really effective.
Like the ones that give you a score 0 to 950 or whatever.
Yeah. A director might not get the nuances of patch management, but they absolutely understand if their company scores a 600 while their main competitor is at 750. It provides context and simplifies a very complex picture.
Makes sense. And you mentioned there's one critical step often missed in these board presentations.
Yes, the call to action. This is so important and so often skipped.
What do you mean?
The CSO can't just present data and risks and then stop. The report must end with a clear ask. Based on this analysis, we request authorization to spend X on Y project. Or, we need the board's support to enforce this new policy across these departments. You have to explicitly ask for the resources or the authority needed to address the risks you just laid out.
If you don't ask, you don't get. And the board might assume everything's fine.
Exactly. It turns the presentation from informative to actionable.
This whole focus on governance, financial quantification, clear actions, it leads towards a more structured way of handling cyber risk overall, right? Like that model proposed by FIRMA and ICIA.
Yeah, that model really tries to embed cyber risk into proper corporate governance. It suggests creating a specific cyber risk governance group, a CRGG.
Okay, a CRGG. Who's on it and who do they report to?
Crucially, it's chaired by the company's overall risk manager, not the CISO or CIO, and it reports up into the main risk committee of the board.
So integrating cyber into the existing enterprise risk framework.
Precisely. And the group itself is cross-functional. You need IT, sure, but also HR, legal, the CISO, the data protection officer, people representing all the areas impacted by cyber decisions.
And their job is explicitly
To determine the company's cyber risk exposure in financial terms, and then to oversee the mitigation plans. It takes the decision-making out of a pure IT silo and puts it into a business risk context.
So the board gets oversight, the process is documented, accountability is clear. The CISO's role becomes more advisory, providing the quantified risk data.
Primarily, yes. They provide the expert analysis for the CRGG and the risk manager to make informed, business-led decisions about accepting, transferring, or mitigating that financial risk. It's treating cyber like any other major business risk.
That's a significant shift in thinking. And achieving that level of strategic integration, well, it requires the right kind of knowledge and potentially external support. Which brings us to our sponsors one last time.
Indeed. A final thank you to www.cisomarketplace.com and www.cisomarketplace.services for supporting this exploration. Resources like theirs can be vital in making this strategic transition.
Absolutely. Hashtag tag outro. Okay, so let's try and pull all this together. We've covered a lot of ground. I think the big takeaway is that cybersecurity in 2025, it's not an IT problem anymore. Not really.
No, it's absolutely fundamental. It's about corporate governance. It's about business resilience. It's driven by this relentless digital reinvention that every company is going through.
And for the CISO, their influence, their success, it hinges entirely on their ability to evolve.
Yeah, they have to move beyond being just the tech expert.
Yeah.
Maybe historically relying a bit too much on FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Now they need to be a technologist, yes, but also a guardian of assets, a strategist who understands the business, and crucially, an advisor who speaks in financial terms. They prove their value by delivering that peace of mind we talked about, showing measurable business outcomes.
It's a huge transition from tech wizard to strategic business advisor, and it comes with serious pressure, especially, as the research noted, when things go wrong.
Definitely. So as we close out Cybersecurity Awareness Month for 2025 and look towards next year, maybe we can leave you, the listener, with a final thought to chew on. Something based on that organizational reality.
Okay, what's the provocative thought?
We talked about how CISOs sometimes become political pawns, right? fired after a big breach, maybe just for optics, to show someone's being held accountable.
Yeah, the scapegoat phenomenon.
But if we agree that ultimate accountability for risk and governance lies with the CEO and the board, then how long can organizations really sustain CISO reporting structures that seem designed to fail? Or, maybe more cynically, designed to shield the top executives by keeping the CISO siloed, under-resourced, or lacking real authority?
Hmm. That really puts the spotlight on the organizational structure itself, not just the person in the CISO chair. Is the structure set up for success, or is it set up to provide plausible deniability higher up?
It's a tough question, but one worth asking within your own organization. Is the structure enabling the CISO to provide that peace of mind, or is it hindering them?
Something definitely worth considering. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it valuable.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.